So in essence, you're not just guiding an orchestra, you're making sure that it's in proper harmony
Yeah.
and in proper flow, which kind of takes me to uh, wanting to explore your mindset. I mean, you believe uh, that all problems are solvable.
Yeah.
Why are you so confident with that?
Hmm. I think, even as a kid, I loved tough challenges. And my mom still says to this day, you always pick the hardest things. And she means it as a compliment, certainly. But I think, it reflects the fact that I do have this inherent belief that, tough problems are worthy of solution and solutions can be attained with the right amount of work and perspective and talent and grit. You know, I can think of, an example of this as a student of science and then ultimately becoming a physician. There are so many aspects in human history where some of the biggest and most impactful discoveries for human health and well-being have been completely serendipitous. And, you don't know what you don't know. I can give you an example in surgery. At the inception of surgery as a field, there was no such thing as sterile technique.
Hmm.
There was no hand washing. There were no gloves. Um, Sometimes they used the same tools in another patient without washing them first. There were no perioperative antibiotics. And it wasn't until the very serendipitous discovery of antibiotics and then some really smart people kind of putting two and two together and saying, hey, if we washed our hands, if we washed the patient before we do this operation, if we gloved and gowned and used a sterile technique, you know, these outcomes can improve. And it was really an amazing connection that was just revolutionary for the outcomes of surgery and then laid the groundwork for advancing the field and doing more complex operations, longer procedures, things like that. So, there's still so much we don't know, but I think as long as we keep that mindset that kind of anything is possible, I think just requires hard work, creativity, and sometimes just a little bit of luck.